All right, let's talk about something that sounds super complicated but is actually an amazing tool in medicine. Doppler ultrasound. You hear the term, maybe it sounds a little intimidating? Well, by the time we're done here, you're going to get it. We'll break down how it actually sees movement inside the body, why it's so incredibly important, and, this is key, how to get that perfect reading. So yeah, let's just dive right in.
I love this quote. It really hits the nail on the head, right? Think about it. For generations, the stethoscope was the symbol of a doctor. But now, we're seeing this massive shift. The portable ultrasound probe is basically becoming the new stethoscope. It's moving out of the specialist's office and into the hands of pretty much every clinician, becoming a go-to part of a regular checkup.
So yeah, basic ultrasound is everywhere now, but there's this one feature, this one superpower it has that, for some reason, just doesn't get the same kind of excitement. And that's the word right there, Doppler. For a lot of people, it just sounds, I don't know, technical, intimidating, but honestly, it's the ultrasound superpower. It's what takes a simple, static black and white picture and turns it into a full-blown movie of what's happening inside you. So our whole goal today is to strip away the jargon and make this thing totally practical and easy to understand. Okay, so how does this magic trick actually work? Well, before we can talk about seeing movement, we gotta start with the basics. Let's do a super quick refresh on how we even get a regular old ultrasound image in the first place. At its core, it's really just a high-tech game of Marco Polo. The probe shouts out these sound waves, Marco, and they travel into the body. When they hit different tissues, they bounce back like echoes, Polo. The machine's brain, the processor, listens to all those echoes and pieces them together into that live grayscale picture we've all seen. It's basically a live map of your anatomy. Okay, now here's where it gets really cool. This is the big leap. What if the machine could do more than just listen for the echo? What if it could tell if the pitch of that returning sound wave had changed? You know, like when an ambulance siren sounds higher as it comes towards you and lower as it goes away? That change, that's everything. And that's really the bottom line. A regular B-mode ultrasound tells you what's there. It gives you a picture of the anatomy, the structures. But Doppler? Doppler answers a completely different and way more dynamic question. How is it moving? It's adding that fourth dimension of movement, and it's almost always looking at the movement of red blood cells. So the machine can listen for this movement in a couple of different ways. On the left, you've got pulsed wave Doppler. The best way to think of this is like a sniper. It sends out one little ping of sound, waits for it to come back, and it can tell you exactly what's happening in one tiny specific spot. The catch? It has a speed limit. It can't measure super fast flow. Then on the right, you have continuous wave Doppler. This is more like a floodlight. It's just blasting sound and listening constantly. It can measure insanely high speeds, no problem, but it's not very precise about where that speed is coming from. So it's that classic trade-off, right? Pinpoint accuracy versus the ability to measure raw power. All right, so the machine can detect movement. Awesome. But how does a doctor actually see that information? Well, it gets displayed in a few different ways, which you can think of as the clinician's Doppler toolkit. First up, you've got Spectral Doppler. This is literally the speedometer for your blood. It locks onto one tiny spot and draws a graph of the blood's velocity over time. You can actually watch the speed jump up every time the heart beats, that's the systole phase, and then fall back down. This is the tool for getting hard numbers. It's quantitative, which is absolutely critical when you need to know, say, exactly how well a heart valve is working. Okay, so if spectral Doppler is the speedometer, then color Doppler is the traffic map. It's genius. It just paints colors right over the black and white image to show you which way the blood is flowing. The rule of thumb is BART, blue away, red towards. So blue means flow is moving away from the probe, red means it's coming towards it. It's not about speed, it's about direction. This gives you an amazing at-a-glance overview, and it's perfect for spotting something wrong, like a jet of blood shooting the wrong way through a leaky valve. And the last tool in the kit is Power Doppler. If the others are about seeing speed and direction, this one is all about sensitivity. Think of it like a super sensitive microphone that's just listening for any sound of movement at all. It doesn't care which way the blood is going, red or blue. It only cares if it's moving. This makes it an absolute hero for detecting really, really slow blood flow that the other modes would just miss. We're talking about checking blood supply to a delicate organ, or in an emergency, where just finding a tiny flicker of flow is a game changer. Okay, now we get to the really important part. This is the
masterclass section. Because, look, having all these cool tools is great, but if you don't use them right, the numbers you get can be wildly wrong. So to get truly accurate data, especially with that spectroscometer spectral Doppler, there are a few steps you can't skip. It really boils down to three key things: where you put your little measurement gate, how big you make it, and, this is the big one, getting the angle just right. Let's walk through each one. First off, that sample volume. So this is basically the little digital gate you place in the blood vessel, and it's where the machine is going to measure the speed. Now, where you put it is crucial. You have to stick it right in the middle of the vessel, right in the center of the flow. Think of it like a river. The water moves fastest in the middle, and it's slowed down by friction along the banks. Same with blood. If you measure near the walls, you'll get a falsely low speed. Next up, the size of that gate. This is a bit of a Goldilocks situation. If you make the gate too big, it's going to start including those slower-moving blood cells near the walls, and that'll drag your average speed down. But if you make it too small, you might miss the fastest part of the flow completely. So the sweet spot, the just right size, is about 1/3 to 2/3 of the vessel's width. And here we go. If you remember only one thing from this whole explainer, make it this: the single most critical rule in Doppler ultrasound. The angle between your sound beam and the direction the blood is flowing has to be less than 60 degrees. No exceptions. So why is this number so magical? It all comes down to the math the machine is doing. It's based on the cosine of that angle. Look, all you need to know is this: the closer you can get your beam to be perfectly parallel with the blood flow, an angle of 0 degrees, the more dead on your measurement will be. But as that angle gets steeper, the error doesn't just grow, it grows exponentially. By the time you hit 60 degrees, your measurement is already wrong by a whopping 50%. I mean, think about that. That could be the difference between telling someone they're fine and telling them they have a major blockage. Okay, let's make this real. Look at this example. The operator here has a really bad angle, 70 degrees, way over that 60-degree limit. And what does the machine say? It clocks the blood speed at just under 36 centimeters per second. Okay, remember that number. Now watch this. This is the aha moment. The clinician doesn't change anything else. They just adjust the probe a little, get a much better angle. Now it's 40 degrees. And bam! Look at the new measurement, 103 centimeters per second. That is 3 times faster than the first reading. It's the exact same blood flowing through the exact same vessel. The only thing that changed was the angle. And that shows you how one measurement was completely wrong and one is telling the truth. Okay, so let's wrap this all up. Let's put everything together into a simple checklist to make sure you get the best possible Doppler exam. All right, here's your cheat sheet. We've hammered this home, but number 1 is that angle. Always, always keep it under 60 degrees. Make sure that sample gate is the right size and sitting right in the middle of the vessel. Beyond that, you'll want to tweak your settings like gain and scale to get the prettiest picture possible. And a really simple but crucial one: hold the probe still. Any little jiggle can throw off the reading, so a steady hand makes a huge difference. We started this whole thing by calling the ultrasound probe the new stethoscope. And as this tech just keeps getting smaller, smarter, and easier to use, you can't help but wonder what's next. What happens when every clinician can not only see a picture of your anatomy, but can instantly measure the very flow of life inside you? How does that change medicine on a daily basis? It's a pretty amazing future to think about. Thanks so much for joining me.